ID Comms Media Snack, episode 10. Double figures. I thought you were going to say double figures. Are you going to say double figures?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Not if you say it.
Okay. Say double figures.
Okay,
right.
I said double figures.
Let's go. Coming up, we're going to look at the fallout of the transparency guidelines issued by the 4A's.
We're going to try to make sense of the result of the Sony Global Media Review.
And we're looking at Facebook's published earnings. Hello and welcome to ID Comms Media Snack, episode 10. In this episode, we are looking at the fallout from the 4A's in the US having issued their media transparency guidelines last week.
That's right. We're going to review the result of the final big review of the year, which was Sony.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Facebook published some amazing business performance results last year. So we're going to dig into why we think they seem to be doing so well at the moment. All coming up on Media Snack in just the time it takes to eat a sandwich. Okay, so first up this week, the 4A's, which is the agencies trade association in the US, has issued some media transparency guidelines. So what's happened?
So another rather unsavory spat between the two big industry trade bodies in the US. So you have the 4A's that represent the agencies, and you've got the A&A that represent the advertisers.
Yeah.
Okay. So earlier 2015, the two bodies created this media transparency task force, and it was on the back of the now infamous John Mandel presentation. Where he suggested that the US was rife in rebate. And so these two industry trade bodies formed this task force to try and get to the bottom of the transparency.
And also neutralise, I think, there's quite toxic discussion that was going on between advertisers and agencies before that got out of control.
Yeah, and it was the right thing to do, right? So they were working collaboratively to start off with. Then the A&A engaged with the investigative company K2 with Ubiquity to investigate this further. Now that put the 4A's nose out because they weren't engaged in that conversation and they didn't endorse that as a decision. So that was the first barrier to their kind of collaborative working process. And now the 4A's have issued their own transparency guidelines.
So why have they fallen out then, the 4A's and the A&A now? Yeah.
Well, the big issue that they've got, I think, the A&A have got with the 4A's is that they're challenging, firstly, the comprehensive nature of the guidelines. They think that it is incomplete. Yeah. They think that the language is too subtle and too ambiguous. But most importantly, the 4A's have suggested that a number of brands, namely L'Oreal, MasterCard, Bank of America, have had considerable input into the development.
And that was in the 4A's press release, wasn't it? When they sent these guidelines out, they quite strongly implied, that these brands had been somehow participating in the development of the guidelines.
Which they may well have done. The problem that the A&A have got is that it suggests that these brands have endorsed the guidelines. And they have categorically denied that.
And the A&A have demanded now an apology from the 4A's, which I think is still forthcoming.
But it's a real mess. You know, these are two trade bodies that should be paving the way to establish a better working relationship with the agencies and the advertisers at a time when trust and transparency is at its absolute lowest. Right? Yet, you know, they seem to be creating even a further creating an even deeper divide between the two bodies. And so you've read the guidelines. What's your perspective?
Well, I think the first thing that's quite impressive actually is that the signatories of the guidelines themselves are, 12 of the most powerful media professionals in the world, and actually getting them to have co-created and then aligned on 6 pages of text is quite frankly a miracle anyway. So that's a brilliant achievement and impressive for the 4A's at least to have got them that far.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual substance of the guidelines, I think the intention is generally good, but the substance of it is quite soft. So the guidelines themselves don't automatically offer any additional protection to advertisers. They are very, very shy of being anything that looks like contractual language. They are for guidance. But there's a particular area that really worried me and that I would encourage people to dig into to understand, because of 9 sections in the guidelines, section 4 covers agencies' commercial relationships with vendors, and appears to be suggesting or giving opportunity to agencies not to disclose commercial relationships that they might have with a vendor outside of the standard buying of inventory. And it specifically calls out areas like barter, so media barter, content, and research and other kind of services. And these are things which an agency group might provide as services or content to a vendor and be paid an undisclosed amount for. And the guidelines are suggesting that agencies aren't obliged to disclose that necessarily to the clients. And that's the bit that worries me, because if actually we've been talking about these areas like barter, like content specifically, as areas where we need greater transparency, I think, from agencies. And these guidelines really give the opportunity to actually be less transparent.
So it's a standoff at the moment.
Certainly between the 4A's and the ANA as the representative bodies.
What's the next big milestone in this process?
I mean, I think it's really building up now to the ANA conference where the task force was launched last year, which occurs at the end of April, which is the ANA's Advertising Financial Management Conference. So this year it's taking place at the beginning of May in Florida. I will be there, and we're expecting that is going to be the platform that the ANA allow K2, the investigators into media rebates in the US, to come and present back their initial findings. And really we're likely to see this debate and this narrative build up steadily now between now and the next few months. And the focus there and the focus right here is media transparency. It's the big topic right now, and something has to give.
So the next topic we're going to cover is the result of the long-awaited Sony media review. The result came through last Thursday, long-awaited, taken 12 months. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as you say, this is the last kind of media palooza piece of business. The global Sony consolidation. Agencies were briefed in April, May last year, and the briefing, as we understand, was intended to create for the first time a total consolidation and alignment under a one Sony kind of umbrella of all of their different divisions and regions, of which Sony is a very complex business, but bring them all together and look for a single agency partner.
So the review covered all 5 of the Sony business units. We had Sony Music, PlayStation, Electronics, Pictures, and Mobile. Cumulative spend about $1 billion. Up to about $1 billion.
I think so. Although it wasn't quite clear because it was so fragmented across different agencies and different regions. So great. So consolidating across the incumbents.
Only the incumbents were invited.
UM, OMD, Mediacom, and Cara. Which of those was the winner?
I've no idea.
Right. So we've struggled we've read this 100 times, and we've really struggled to figure out exactly which bits of which business moved to which agency and from who. Tell us what have you got?
So the biggest spender is Sony Pictures, and the incumbent was Universal McCann, with OMD looking after bits of the business in Europe. I don't think anything's changed.
So Pictures didn't consolidate at all? No change.
Although OMD appeared to have won a little bit of Asia Pacific.
Great, okay, good for them.
You're right, that was good. Electronics, old incumbent was Universal McCann in North America. Mediacom seemed to have consolidated that business.
Okay.
Mobile, Mediacom and Cara were the incumbent. That has been consolidated behind Mediacom.
Mm-hmm.
Music was OMD,
Right.
remains to be OMD.
Okay.
And PlayStation was Cara and OMD, is now Mediacom.
Okay. So Mediacom seem to have gathered some wins,
Yeah.
some loss,
Yeah.
and it sounds like the divisions themselves have perhaps consolidated,
Yeah.
but they haven't aligned.
That's
and what
right.
was also interesting was that there's been no official announcement from Sony, so a lot of this, I think, was leaks from different agencies, and the trade press were actually reporting on slightly conflicting wins and losses based on what leaks perhaps they'd got from the agency community in different parts of the world. So that was interesting. And over a period of days, and some divisions had been announced, but not others. So I don't think there was any kind of particular alignment on timing across divisions or on regions. So it's far from a consolidation,
and it remains confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that we do now understand is that the big loser was Dentsu Aegis.
Yeah.
So Cara lost all of its incumbent business,
Yeah.
which is slightly surprising given the relationship that Dentsu, I'm sure, has with Sony in Tokyo.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were hotly tipped to really be the front runners to consolidate this business. So something's not worked there, or they've decided not to make that a priority, perhaps. But anyway, the consolidation that never was, that wraps up now, finally, Mediapalooza 2015.
Phew.
It's been a pleasure. So before we get into the final segment, where we talk about Facebook's spectacular results, just wanted to use 30 seconds to make a slight promotion and advert for our own content. We are at 78 subscribers now for our little channel.
Yep.
And on YouTube, when you hit 100 subscribers, you unlock new features, which is really good. So we're really looking to get to 100 subscribers. What we would like to do is just to say, please subscribe if you like what we're doing. It's a big milestone for us to get to 100 because it shows YouTube that we're making progress and we're doing good work. And as a special treat, whoever is our 100th subscriber, we will give a shout out to next week, and we will encourage you to ask us a question, which we guarantee that we will respond to. So please subscribe, click today, and please get us over that 100 mark. So last up this week, Facebook have announced very impressive results for the most recent quarter. So talk us through that. So what are the big numbers?
So they announced their fourth quarter results. Ad revenue was up 57%.
Mm-hmm.
So of their, they have a user base of 1.8 billion. 1 billion of those log in each day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, astonishing numbers. And they announced these incredible, revenue figures.
Yeah.
80% of their income, which is annually about 15 billion, comes from mobile.
Mm-hmm. This is impressive because that was historically a weakness of Facebook, wasn't it? Their mobile offer, but they've not only just caught up, but they're smashing expectations.
So I mean, why are they doing so remarkably well?
They've been. I wish I knew really, because I don't own shares in Facebook, by the way, but I probably would do if I had the odd million lying around. We've been looking at Facebook quite a lot, very closely, and it's been very interesting to see how their performance from an ad revenue perspective has been so strong. And I think it's just they've really just got their act together, and they've really focused on coming to market with an ad offer to both to agencies and to brands, which is just so appropriate for the times. They've got very clever technologies that allow you to track users across devices, so you've got a single currency of user. They are coming out with a very strong transparency message at a time when there's a lot of nervousness and concern, anxiety around lacks of transparency, as we've just been talking about earlier, and things like ad fraud, ad blocking even, and for Facebook to come out and offer what they call is 100% viewable impressions is very powerful and is resonating with the market. They've they've got logged in users.
Yeah.
So very, very good for targeting because you can profile within their system very well. And of course, as you mentioned, they offer huge scale. This isn't a niche property. This is a global broadcast property. So it's very attractive for advertisers. And so those things combined make it very compelling. You know, nobody now, it's the safest bet, really. Nobody's going to get fired for putting a lot of Facebook on a media plan. You know, there'll be high expectation from a client. Be reassured that Facebook is the scale digital or mobile opportunity. And Facebook are offering direct deals with advertisers and self-serve technologies. So increasingly brands are seeing them really as a kind of safe harbor for their digital investment, with so much concern across the open web that, you know, to go to these kind of walled gardens or these safe harbors are very, very compelling.
Should that be a concern for the agencies?
Well, you think, I mean, the direct deals, we talked about the direct deals quite a lot. Of course they should be. But actually, what we're finding is a lot of agencies, you know, off record are very pro Facebook. Yeah. I mean, or even on record actually, because Sir Martin Sorrell, to pick, you know, one name out of thin air, at Davos last week was saying actually the scale of their relationship with Facebook is quite astounding. They spend over the Group M properties spend over $1 billion a year just with Facebook. So those are big relationships. And I think that's going to increase because of this safe harbor kind of position that Facebook have created. It's very easy for agency buyers to just direct loads of funds into Facebook because, as I say, you know, you don't get fired for recommending Facebook. And it's an easy sell, frankly, to a client, and you can spend a lot of money very quickly on Facebook with perhaps relatively less effort than you might be if you were trying to, you know, optimize multiple bits of inventory across the web. So
it's a real positive at a time of confusion, right?
Yeah, I think so, and I think we'll see these numbers increase, you know, in the medium term for Facebook. They seem to have really got it set right. And are a very, very attractive proposition, I think, right now for advertisers. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.
Have a good weekend. Good, well done.